St. Charles Medical Center approved mask. I believe they've worked with the CDC to find a mask that works well for them. And the Central Oregon Mask Makers on Facebook, they've put together a lot of tutorials. And then I found a way to make a jig that will make it so it's, I think, a bit faster to make the masks. So there's a 3-inch opening here at the top, and the front and back are 2 different fabrics, so that way you can tell which way is out, and don't accidentally put this on backwards. So if it's contaminated on the outside, you don't want to put it back on and have that against your face. Although I found that I like making them for myself and friends, that it is the same fabric on both sides, and then I just write back on the back, and then I put the pocket down at the bottom, because it's a little easier to get your hands in and out. But you always make sure you use a fresh filter every time, and never handle anyone else's filter. And these are going to be sanitized before they make it off to St. Charles. And so we'll show how to make them. So start with fresh, clean fabric that was washed and dried in hot water. Put 8 inches by 9 inches, fabrics facing each other. When you wash it, do not use fabric softener or dryer sheets, and we want to make sure that it doesn't shrink. And then also, again, while we're handling stuff right now, we want to make sure that it's clean so we're not spreading germs around. So I use this template. Templates make it so it's going to be more accurate and makes it a little easier than getting out a ruler to redo it each time. And so then we're going to make this a 1/2 inch seam allowance per the instructions, and we'll put the needle in the middle and sew the perimeter. Do some back stitch at the beginning to make sure that it doesn't come undone later. And we want the needle end in the down position. So that way when we do our turn, oops, didn't go back one more. So when we do our turns, we get nice tight corners. They say not to use pins, so each time you turn a corner, try to adjust to make it so it's going to line up as best as possible. Guidelines are changing every day, so be sure to check daily for updated guidelines and protocol. So that little drawing there made it easy to see that last edge, so I didn't accidentally sew it shut. So then I like to trim the corners, not all the way to the edge, but it just eliminates a little bit of that bulk that would be in the way for the person wearing it, as well as while trying to sew it. And then to turn it inside out, I find a letter opener works well to get all those corners. So on the filters, if you're buying one for yourself, again, don't handle anybody else's filters. But you can buy those at hardware stores and Costco and places like that. And you want the lowest number possible on the air filter or like the HEPA vacuum bag. The lower number is a better filtration. And so ideally looking for like a 1 micron or 0.1 micron. This fabric alone is only 50 microns filtration and not very effective at preventing the virus. And you want to make sure that if you're wearing a mask, that it's well fitted. There's no spots for air to get in on the edges by your cheeks, at your chin, at your nose. So the well-fitting mask will make a huge difference. So now we're down to a 7-inch by 8-inch sides per the design. And with this, we're going to put the opening that we have here at the top. So we're going to do the pattern face down, and here on the opening we have it so it sticks out about 3/4 of an inch. Make sure that you pull it enough that things line up so there's not going to be extra wrinkles, but don't pull it so tight that you're pulling it out of place or creating additional wrinkles. And this little jig makes that a lot faster and easier. So then we're just going to tack these edges in, and the better you do with getting these lined up now, the easier it will be later, and fewer problems later. So go slow as you're doing it, because then you're again going to have fewer mistakes. So I've moved the needle all the way to the edge, and I'm only doing like an 1/8 inch seam allowance now. And so we'll just get this going. So we want to make sure that we don't end up with any additional folds as we're doing this. So each time my fingers are down there, I have my foot off the pedal. I don't need any unnecessary hospital visits at this point. And this side always goes a little faster and easier. Well, hopefully it will this time too. So we're not tacking back and forth because we're just trying to get it to hold into place. So taking this out, again, that just sped everything up. I didn't have to go iron a bunch. I don't have to get out the binder clips and stuff. And as you can see, while the lines are not perfect, they are awfully darn close. Everything's lining up really nicely. And so getting things accurate will make the finished product more effective. And so we'll go from here. And we're going to add, I like to use this ribbon. This is 5/8 inch ribbon polyester. So it's a bit like nylon webbing. I don't have nylon webbing on hand. It saves 6 feet of ironing and 6 feet of sewing. Actually, probably 12 feet of ironing because you have to iron it twice at least. It's a lot of volunteers making 3D printed binding tools, and that's another wonderful way to help out. So if you don't have a sewing machine, if you have a 3D printer, you could help make binding tools. There's files, so you can just print those out, and that also helps a ton. You can also volunteer to cut out fabric. There's so many ways you can help and volunteer without sewing. So just reach out to the groups in your area. So you want to go slow so you make sure that you have a good coverage on this. And then back stitching at the ends so that doesn't come undone at an inopportune time. So one on both sides nicely, and just drop to the other one. on the floor. So this is a 36-inch piece of ribbon. You don't want any silky smooth ribbon because then that's not going to tie well. So this has some nice grooves, again, very much like nylon webbing. And we're eyeballing it for getting the center. We want it within maybe 1/4 of an inch of being centered. It doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want it to be off by an inch or two because it will not be easy to use. So again, adjusting as I go just to make sure that it's on correctly. And there we have it. I can usually make these in a little under 10 minutes, probably 7 or 8 minutes if I'm not chatting. Just need to do a little bit of cleanup of the threads, but otherwise this is ready to go. At the bottom it's sealed, top they have it open. They put the opening right over the bridge of the nose, and then they're taping this down to avoid any air leakage here, and then that goes on. But yeah, next we'll put it in a plastic bag, drop it off. It'll be sanitized, and then they will add the single-use filters and hopefully keep somebody protected and get this virus gone fast so we can get back to our lives as we liked them with our loved ones. So happy sewing, and hope this helps.